Hello, everyone. Hi, Lori. I think we
Ivy.
do some impromptu chats with MIRICRIS with all that's going on right now.
Yeah, I love the pink halo. V.
Do you,
That's
I'd like to
really,
say it emanates from me, but it doesn't.
yeah, it's hilarious. In fact, it'd be beautiful. It changed colors. If you went from
Okay,
pink to green to blue to turquoise.
let's see if we can do that. All that would be is a light with a
Maybe we,
filter, right?
we could just manifest that right now.
Okay, ready? Oh,
Is it possible?
I
I,
love that. I
I'm
love the
sure
color.
yeah, I'm sure we could change your aura color. I have no doubt about that. So, V, I had a question, and this might be really interesting for Miracruz. The question that I've been wrangling with lately is inherited family illnesses. I often hear people talk about, oh, so and so in my family has this, and and so has that, so I'll probably get that. And it makes me think of Angelina Jolie. I don't mean to be controversial, but I will be, which
Why
is
and why not? Why can't we be
she
controversial?
exactly. So if everybody remembers, Angelina Jolie had both of her breasts removed because she had the markers for a particular type of breast cancer, even
That's
though
true.
she had absolutely no symptoms. Nothing had developed. And that's radical. And that leads me deeper into this question of us perhaps buying into the idea that we have to carry on with our family's um, imprint of illness, and I know things are inherited and this is what we're talking about, but I also feel there's a psychological component to this.
Well, and I also want to say something because, as you well know, I've been studying the Christian Science thing,
Hmm.
and that's one of their things they work out of.
Hmm.
They move that. And all
Right.
it is a pattern of, according to them, and it takes a heck of a lot of consciousness to do what they want you to do, which is to move your belief out of it, move your mind and your body out of it. And they've
Hmm.
got millions of stories of people who've done that. I
Right.
haven't done everything, but I've done teeth and a few other things since I started working with them.
Wow.
So I'm not preaching Christian Science. I'm saying here's a mind over that takes you way deep into the energy of your heritage. And I just see it and learn it quite a bit. I'm studying it right now.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
would, I would, and also science of mind. That's another,
Yes, well, they're very related anyway.
it's a
Yeah.
very mental construct on how we use energy to
But they're very
create
related. Yeah.
create our reality, basically.
Hmm.
So, but can we get in and talk to Miracris
Of
about
course we
this?
can. I'm
Okay.
just responding to something that's really close to my
Yeah.
study right now. And they want they're chuckling and they want to be here with us.
Mm.
We are here. We are here with you. Hmm. Both systems are right. The most difficult part of those systems is having people have the calipers of their thinking and their minds um, truly on whatever is buried in the subconscious and the conscious. So that sometimes it's very difficult for people to remove those belief structures and those patterns that are in humanity. But it's part of the evolution. And Lori, this one wants to talk about the evolution of our species and whether that's even possible right now. And we're relating it immediately to your question because that is a part of the evolution of the species, no longer to be victimized by the trails of past and so on and so forth, you see? And yeah, there's a great deal of human potential rising over the fracas of what's going on around your country at this time. America is the land of the free, but as you realize, even through this past conversation right here, that the people are not free when they're bound by, for example, an inherited pattern. See, the people are not free, and they have to use their What would you call it? You can feel this energy. What can you call it when people are locating within themselves some way of identifying what could run a program and then learning to move it, dismiss it, dispense with it, and so on? You
Hmm.
understand that? It's a very, very important part of human evolution.
Yes, and Miracus, are there any techniques and tools you can suggest for not inheriting these physical patterns, not buying into it per se?
All we can say that is very simplistic, but it's viable, is that to breathe deeply and raise your fields and frequency. When your fields and frequency are raised, you have more malleability, more flexibility in pretty much any part of being a human being. But if you consciously raise it and consciously hand yourself over beyond frequencies that are rather earthbound, do you understand?
Hmm.
And you raise your fields and frequencies and then focus deeply on that little nugget of information that's in your cellular structure, you'll find you can disperse it, you can dispense with it, you can make it gone. And if you're successful, you will know that probably immediately, as soon as you start focusing into it. How will you know it? Because there's a feeling in you that moves. Um, in how will we put this? That feeling in you begins to move because you've focused on it and you've challenged it to be less than a physical imprint that has to be stuck there. And we're saying to you, this is very possible for many beings to release themselves from terrible, terrible traps of inherited pains and diseases, if you will. You understand that?
Yes, I mean, just from more practical standpoint, I mean, is this something that V would have to guide us through in terms of the cellular?
Yes, because it's training. It's not because it's unfathomable. It's because it's training of your mind to seek more deeply within your physical. You understand that? So that you're actually seeking deeply in it and you begin to understand the etheric aspects of your deeper
Hmm.
imprints, if you will. Yeah, it would require some, we call it cheerleading.
Hmm.
It would require some steady influencing in order to practice. The influencing repeatedly is in order to practice moving that which seems immovable. You see,
Okay.
it's a practice, and you will find yourself getting very strong about it. You have full capacity to do that, Lori.
Yes, so maybe this is a short meditation that Veronica can lead us through at maybe at the end of this video,
I would
just
like that.
to
Yeah.
give our audience a little something to work with. Because I have a feeling illness is on a lot of people's minds right now, because the planet is ill,
Mhm.
and we're we're also healing and evolving, and miracles on a evolutionary scale. Can you talk a little bit about our evolution? I mean, we last week we talked about it. If there was a timeline, if there was a rating to give us, where would we be? And I think that's an interesting question to ask every week. Where are we? Because we're moving so fast.
And it's a wonderful question because if you look, if you have your remarkable vision, seeing the tumult all around the world. Can you see the world and understand that it is tumultuous all over the world?
Hmm.
And it's that tumult that actually heralds enough dynamic interaction with life and with one another to have people choose to move out of the pudding, if you will.
Mm.
It comes from, and you know this, when you have some severe problems emotionally with people, you know that, and we're always talking to this one about this. You know that those emotional problems can stir things up at a deep subconscious and even cellular level in such a way as to release you in time. Do you see?
Yeah.
This is what's happening all around the world is the tumultuous hatred and dynamic wars and so on and so forth. But it's happening on such a global level that what you're seeing is the beginning and the ferment that's going to bring people out of those ways of thinking. What it will bring you to is a state of mental and emotional consciousness. Not
Mm,
only a few people, well, perhaps we often say maybe 30%. Some people don't want any part of it.
mm,
But for those of you who are very active in the collective of consciousness, you'll see yourself being able to move out of the tumult and into a kind of a much, much less restrictive, competitive, comparative um, vibrance. And that's very important. When you get to that point, you can move beyond it.
mm,
Did you
mhm,
understand that?
mhm, mhm.
It's a very, very, very dynamic time on your planet at this time. And we'd like to sort of add this that it's a very, very dynamic, transformative time on many planets at this time because there's nothing that works. Everything throughout the universe has a kind of a shares a tune, if you will, or shares some vibrational activity. So we're saying to you, as people pay attention to the tumult on the earth, some really wonderful fruit will rise. But again, we remind you, and that's true around the universes, actually.
Mm, mm, mm. Interesting.
And all throughout the universes, uh, the frequencies, the stable foundational frequencies are moving up, you
Hmm.
see,
Hmm.
moving to, so that's true too. So it has to change the outpicturing of any existence anywhere in the universe as well.
Yeah, it's funny because on an energetic level, let's just take, for example, Donald Trump's changing his mind every, 24 hours creates such a heightened sense of dynamics. Uh,
Yes,
and it brings up this idea of us getting caught up in reaction. So we're facing incredible dynamics in front of us with an individual who changes their mind so frequently, so quickly. But
but
at
one
this,
thing he does not change, Lori, is he does not stop wanting to control the changes that the human beings want to go through. He
right,
wants to control that.
I
And
understand.
control is very unmovable, isn't it?
Yeah, so I want to focus a little bit on a personal level, our reactionism. I don't mean, I'm just saying from an emotional space of leaking our energy through reactionism. Reactionism is good out in the streets, out in protesting, doing something physical, contacting your congressperson, calling the White House. But there is another level of reactionism that we have to be careful of, right, MIRICRIS, which is this reactionism of darkness and despair.
You're absolutely right. You're right on target. We like to just reintroduce it, something you already know. But when a person is reacting against injustice, if she feels inside of herself venomous, dark, and so on, then the reaction is only feeding into that. So you know how to go in there and start to feel the core and the centering. We keep teaching this one, the core and the centering of possibility and the light that moves through individuals is going to help people in states of reaction not be venomous, not be controlling. Words like controlling have a great deal of holding pattern, do they not?
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we're saying is when we can move with you and help you move to a higher frequency inside, even if you are at war,
Mm-hmm.
understand? Even if you're at war, you want to move what's inside of you to see possibility, to see evolution, to see love of as many humans as you can, or animals, and so on. You see,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that whilst you're at war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you
It's
don't separate the options of feeling, you end up being exactly what you were saying. You get into a reactionary um, thing, which creates this reaction against that reaction against this, and everything just ricochets, you see?
right. It's like being on a more personal level, it's like being in a bad relationship.
Yes. And the thing is that people then feel they have no hope and they just have to defend themselves like mad.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't a healthy way to be.
No, not at
It's not
all.
wrong to defend yourselves. We're not saying that. You understand?
Yeah.
Hmm. But it's a very good question because it requires something that you are both vigorous about, which is consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
becoming conscious of what's going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
We always remind people that love is so powerful and so important, but that doesn't mean it doesn't contain rage and anger,
mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Yes, you can absolutely, I'm sure we've all had this experience where you can actually have a troubled relationship and yet there's still tremendous love there.
Hmm.
But there's an understanding that, excuse me, just getting over a cold. But there's an understanding sometimes inside of ourselves that it's not possible that we can have the full potential of the relationship because
Hmm.
we're seeing it from one side. We're not in control of both sides.
And the other part of it is, what is your relationship looking for? It might be looking for resolution of self-esteem issues, or it might be looking for resolution of inner situations that can't stay with the other person, but has to free free herself and use the experienced difficulty as a reaction that helps catalyze a new level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are often used that way. Do you understand?
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. So
And
it's not a failure if you leave one. Sometimes it's perfect. I've
yeah,
graduated, you see?
yeah, 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 yeah. And
But
all,
you've made another point, and we see it in
mhm,
your heart, which is you want the love that you shared to be shared, to be viable, to be active, to be lifting and sorting other people, maybe bringing life on earth to a place of love. We know that you have that in you.
mhm. Mm, that's beautiful.
You see the
Ah, I'm sorry, Mary Chris. Go ahead.
you see the conundrum.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just listening to people above me on the terrace now. Oh boy. Uh, anyways, I'm back here in France on the Côte d'Azur, and it's an incredible springtime day. It's the beginning of Easter here, which is a really big holiday, and the village is filling up with people from all over. So, um, anyways, Merry
And
Christmas.
whether or not a person is religious, Easter has a very deep light for transformation.
Hmm.
It's the time when many, and this is something that goes back to the beginning of this conversation, it's the time where many think of their life and their difficulties and how they got to a better place or a higher place, or that, it's a very wonderful image, even if a person is not, in quotes, Christian.
The rebirth, the resurrection.
Yeah, and all of you, all of the people are actually radiating some aspect of that at this time. That's what
Hmm.
happens when the world gathers around a concept, isn't it?
Hmm. It's very powerful.
Yes, it is.
Mhm. That's why sometimes around Christmas time, the air feels so peaceful. So
Yeah,
still, I find,
almost magical.
yeah. And it defies being religious because I'm not Christian. I can just feel it in the air, the vibration of it, because there's so many people going very internal inside the winter time like that. Excuse me. MIRICRIS, should we change course just a little bit because I feel there's some people who would like us to touch upon some current events
Yes, indeed.
that are occurring because once again, everything is happening so quickly.
Yes.
Um, we have the story of the wonderful, brave Maryland senator who
Mhm.
went to El Salvador and after being told no, that he wouldn't be able to meet with Garcia, the held man there from Venezuela, he was in fact given permission. And it's a strange photo. I have to tell you, I want to caveat this to people. You're going to see the photo that they're running right now. It's a complete PR sham from the El Salvadorian side. They got him in a very festive shirt. He's not in his prison whites. He has his baseball hat on. Um, he it's just really bizarre. I mean, everybody in that prison is shaved down and they're all dressed in
Mhm.
whites. And it looked like they were in a hotel dining room. It
They
was
were in a hotel, weren't they?
yeah, it was can you explain a little bit about the setup?
It's it's a PR kind of situation in cahoots with Trump. You understand that it's a PR, even part of it is AI, but it's a setup so people at home in America will feel like it's all right, everything's all right. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't all right. It's terrible there. And taking people out of their homes is a very terrifying thing. But this is a way to ameliorate that so people soften their demands and their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But not all people. There are some people who catch on immediately.
Yeah. Um, I'm not, it's awful. And what a wonderful thing that the senator did from Maryland. And I hope it has long-reaching effects. And they're going to, excuse me, they're going to put together a delegation, he said, of more Congress people who are going to go down to El Salvador. Will the Republicans be joining in with the Democrats?
For the same journey, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, as a delegation together. Are there any Republicans who will join in with the Democrats to go down to El Salvador?
It's very difficult for them to do that. Do you understand that? We're saying uh, maybe there are two Republicans that want to, but there's not, there's a lack of trust and more of a fidelity to Trump that keeps them back. Do you understand that?
No, I
I don't know
don't.
whether it's fidelity or whether it's,
Threats?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
we
Hmm.
know there's a lot of threats that are being delivered. You can only imagine for all the threats that we're experiencing, these Congress people are experiencing them as well.
Hmm. But we say to you that the Democrats are going to come forward in a way that they should have for quite a while, and they haven't been so much. They're going to start coming forward in a much stronger style.
Oh, they are. Absolutely. I mean,
And they
Bernie,
have less to lose now.
yeah, Bernie AOC, man, they're pulling 30 to 40,000 in each town, city they go to. It's this tour called Fighting the Oligarchy. And
Right.
it's really profound. And Gavin Newsom now has decided to sue the federal government over these tariffs. There are states who are starting to come together more.
Hmm.
Um, I love Rachel Maddow because she said it's like riding in on a horse, and you have to believe that all these things that are happening, all these things that are being done, actually have this incredible benefit. as much as Donald is doing things from so many different angles, imagine the flip side of that and what it looks like when we're out there protesting, when Congress people are doing things, when they're holding town halls, the Dems, and doing amazing work. And so we're attacking it from all different sides as
And we
well.
want to remind you about the tumultuousness that heralds an evolution.
Mhm,
And some of these people are literally stirring the tumultuousness to keep the electricity blooming out of
mhm.
the drama. Do you understand?
Yeah. And it's amazing with all these uh, hundreds of thousands, if not a million people protesting around the world, that there really has not been violence. It's been really remarkable.
Hmm. But that's again, in the rage, the commitment is still there. It's like we were saying, there can be rage in your love. We're
Hmm.
saying the rage still has the deep commitment to stop with the violence, stop with the bullying,
Hmm.
and support one another. You see?
So if we look at a timeline, Miracris, where are we now? Just so that we can all understand, where are
Um,
we with the downfall of Donald and his administration?
we're saying to you it's near. It's near. However, the volatility, which we've already spoken about, is something that's very unpredictable time-wise. We say to you that by there will be one moment. There is going to be a huge, it's almost like a war with El Salvador. And we say almost like because it's a small place, but there's going to be quite an intense war, and it's going to be fueled by some Americans. You understand that? And then in a while, the Republicans are going to turn on themselves. They're going to split in a way and turn on themselves. And there's going to be a bit of a bloody fracas for a while. We suggest May and June. And that will begin to resolve things. But what it is, it's like they're fighting to see who's got the centering power. Understand?
Hmm.
And that those the really extreme Republicans that are very, as you know, very aligned with Russia are going to lose that part of it. And but it's going to be a really bloody battle before they do.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we don't know for sure about time for the same reasons that you don't. And they mostly because the volatility and the action takes longer at this point than that. It's got an awful lot of outpicturing reactions and attitudes and so on. And also an awful lot of people, for example, the Democrats have backed up and become extremely weak when they were needed to be strong. You see, but that's a reaction that comes from the volatility of some kind of clash, or it's their fear, but they're moving out of that right now.
Hmm.
But you cannot calculate time very accurately when we have this kind of going forward and moving back, and going
Yeah.
forward and moving back, and
Yeah.
looking at alliances and so on. You're going to see a few more Democrats be really fiercely strong about holding their center. And
Mm.
that's exactly what it's going to take for people to move forward at this time. You
Mm.
have to hold your center so you can grab hold of uh, opportunities that come up to give
Hmm.
you an amazing strength and power, and know that your other people around you are doing the same thing. And that's how you build the big change. You
Hmm.
know this. Yes, I
Hmm.
know you know
Yeah, and I
this.
just want to be a bit of a mouthpiece for many people who are fairly frustrated with the judicial system, even though they're siding very much with pro-democracy. The wheels of justice are so slow, and there's so, excuse me, there's so many steps. So, for instance, we're now getting at the crossroads here with Boasberg, Judge Boasberg, who said that an appropriate response would be criminal contempt.
Oh,
against Donald Trump for not abiding by his orders to return the deportees, the Venezuelans. Where are we going with that? What's the next thing that's going to happen here? Because the Trump administration has refused outright to hit the deadlines, the markers, to give the information to the judge. They've basically thumbed their nose at him. And so
you
where
know, there's going to be two lawsuits coming up against Mr. Trump. Uh, it's hard for us to sort of describe it because these things are sort of nebulously in the fire being formed.
Mhm.
And there's going to be a couple of lawsuits coming up that are going to unfortunately create a battlefield rather than a solution at this point, but in time it's a solution. All of
Mhm.
that's starting to happen over the next few weeks.
Okay. Where do
And you
you,
want that even though it's ugly.
yeah, where do you see this? Will Boasberg really launch this contempt?
Yes. And
Really?
he's in danger. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's in danger.
But he also is, he's an interesting man. What is your take on him? Because we see him as an interesting man and a soul that has a very dynamic purpose, but he's withholding to a degree. He's still being cautious and watching, trying to see where the cracks are in the, what would you say the cracks are in the armor that's being applied to him and so on.
Hmm.
So he's
Well,
being,
yeah, and one of the things that happens with criminal contempt, it's launched, I guess, against the attorneys. I don't know if he will launch it against the Trump himself.
it appears that Trump is going to be um, receiving, if you will, a threat or a the indictment that everybody would really like to have happen, but it doesn't seem possible. It's going
Mm.
to happen. It's going to happen soon, actually.
Mm.
And Mr. Trump thinks he can get away from anything that's going to be that lethal.
Hmm.
But you know, we're telling you that he can't. And one of the reasons for that, you need to hear this, you'll like this, which is some of the people that are not speaking up have undercurrent power more so than others. And there's a reactionary or rebellious movement amongst people who are not speaking up. It's not in the media or anything. And they're really after getting Mr. Trump out of office.
Wow.
And they don't want any false steps, you see?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're being extremely cautious, but they're also being, what is the word, sly and you know, like detectives, they're sneaking around if you look at it that
Hmm.
way. But
Hmm.
these are good people who I wish to cry here only because I can feel the tears in some of them. These are
Mm.
good people that want to fight for their country,
Mm.
and they know how dangerous and lethal this arrangement is. And they don't quite know how to get in there, but they're working at it. But the number of tears that are brinking on the eyes and minds of some of these people that are working under in the undercurrent of it all would probably surprise you. They have
Wow.
hearts that are really strong. People love America. People who have fought for America love America.
Hmm.
You understand that? And the deception, the lying, the cheating, the lies are terrible. And the marketing of some very, what would you call it, superficial gains and so on, that is horrifying to some people there. But when do you attack it? When do you say something about it? You can't until the pieces are ready to stand behind what you're asking. You need
Right.
to have many, many people in the same, what, church pews, if you will. Many. And
Now,
it's rising, Lori.
yeah.
It's
Yes. Yes.
slow though.
It's slow. It's slow, and there's a bit of frustration, I think, for a
And
lot.
you want it to be slow because if they're not slow enough, they won't catch all the loose pieces,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Now, can I ask you, Miracris, you said there's going to be some kind of war with El Salvador.
Yes.
What's
We've seen this for
can,
quite a while.
a war? What do you mean by a war? An intellectual battle? Give us back the prisoners or else? Or is there military?
It looks like it's military. It's small because it's such a small place, but it will have basically what the war is about fighting the U.S. Um, empowerment, thinking it's a bully. U.S. is a bully, and they're finally fighting back because U.S. has tarnished their name and reputation. We could say it's because they're authoritarian.
Well,
However, there's a fight coming up that is really like a war, and it's small.
but it's with this dictator, Bukele.
Yeah, and he's not a wonderful man. We're not
No.
suggesting that.
Evil. He's evil.
Maybe.
Wh- When you look at him, he says he's the world's coolest dictator. That's how he pegs himself.
We think
So
of him as quite ignorant,
yeah, he's not well.
educated.
No, thank you. I was going to say that. No, it's not. So my point is there a war over getting these prisoners back?
Yes, but also going back to what this fellow's name is, who's not well educated, as we said, but he has a very astute ability of sneaking, of unsettling people and going for it's like one of those people who knows how to take charge of people without having any intelligence. He only has his own wit and his own knack and his lack of integrity. That's the kind of person he is.
So do him and Trump fracture over this thing?
Yes.
These prisoners with
Yes.
these deportees
Yeah.
in El
And it
Salvador
would be
and
brought
him
on by
and his
J.D. Vance as well.
of course, Shady
Yeah.
Vance.
Yeah. And Shady Vance has a similar ethical presence as the leader of El Salvador.
So, but is this? I'm maybe I'm asking. Well, what I'm curious about is this the Bukele, I think is how you say his name, the dictator of El Salvador. Is he
Mhm.
refusing to return the deportees? Is that how this erupts?
Yes, partly, although it seems that he is mostly erupting because he's offended and indignant about um, Trump's seeming power over his country.
It's interesting because he's getting paid. I've heard different things. At first, it was 30 million, then it was 15, then it was 12, then it was 8
But
to
it's less about that, Lori, than it is about the fact that he's had his dignity slashed by something that comes up with
comes
Trump.
up soon,
Mhm.
huh?
Very soon.
And
And he's not a nice man, but he's not smart enough to be as bad as people think he is. Do you understand?
mhm.
And we're just saying, leave it at that because it's almost inexplicable reason why they will, in quotes, go to war. It's
Okay, and lastly, will the U.S. military go in and get the deportees back?
yes,
That's going to be
yeah,
a military action?
yes, it is.
Wow.
However, there's a narrow, one moment here, one moment. It appears that it will not be all military. What you understand is there are people in the military who will have nothing to do with it. You see, so you've got this slice of beings that are going to be used, and literally they're going to be used.
Wow.
Mhm. It's a very, very twisted kind of power.
Hmm.
that's going on there. And yes, we see that the detainees are being released, but there's danger for them still. And
Yeah,
that's worth paying
yeah.
attention to. People mustn't be naive here.
Well, when they keep reporting in the news that one of the detainees is a gay hairdresser, I'm
I
going,
know,
oh my Lord.
I
Like,
know.
is anybody fucking home? Do
Mhm.
you know what that's I'm sorry. Do you know what that results? I mean, that prison is known for torture and for
But the
people
fellow
dying.
that's being detained there, they're telling stories about him being all kinds of degrading situations, which aren't true. You know that.
I don't know what you mean, Marcus.
Okay, so there's a gang that he's supposed to be a part of.
Who's he? Which
The
one?
fellow who is the prisoner there right now that they're trying to bring out.
Well, the one in the
Reagan,
news is Garcia. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're just saying that it's publicized how terrible he's been, which is not true. You see, so that's what they do. They take the media and they just scour somebody's reputation.
Well,
And so the fellow
mm,
who's a hairdresser, he's having the same problem.
yeah, but you don't want to be a gay hairdresser in El Salvador. I don't care if
Of
you're in
course, you don't want to be
prison or not, you
exact.
know. I
Yeah,
mean, this is just ludicrous that, nobody should even be mentioning this because it sets this guy up for incredible tr trauma, incredible things to happen to him.
I know. And there's some people who needed to hear that so that they could hate him more.
No, God.
You know, that's the way marketing of ideas works, and much of your news is marketed.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very tragic moment. I feel that at this time that oh, he will be released. I feel like there's some uh, punishment there, unfortunately, but he will be released.
Is this
But
when you,
part of it is the fight. There's going to be a big fight coming up. We're calling it the war. And it
wow.
is about all of these things because of the rules. This one gets this and this one gets that. And the
Mm-hmm.
rules are made up by Mr. Trump. And we
Mm-hmm.
say it not by uh, his helpers or his legal committees. No, they're made up by him.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
wants to stick the knife in.
Wow. He's playing
He
with
is a
fire.
very, very evil man.
Very.
Very, more
Eh,
so than most of us realized.
yeah, exactly. And he's also playing with incredible fire.
Well,
So,
well, if you put it that way, you probably realize that there has to be a war pending for, uh,
hmm
yeah, the reaction. We go back to that action reaction kind of conversation we were having, and the reaction of the El Salvadorians is on every level of ego, of drama, betrayal, of all kinds of
hmm
things.
hmm
Then come to that. They have nothing to lose to have a war. They know they'll all be defeated, you know?
yeah.
But that isn't it. They got to go to war with the great American states, you know?
Mhm.
It's
So,
a terrible time for some people.
yes. So, anything you want to say in closing, Mira, Chris? Because it would still be nice to have Veronica lead us in the ending exercise that we talked about at the beginning.
Well, that would probably be more important, but we want to say to you that there is, in individual situations, it is very, very hard to see. But say your prayers and make sure that you've got your center full of light and be sending that because that will lift and sort and help people make sense of what's going on to them. Very difficult times, but the difficulties do lead to evolution. I'm
Okay.
sorry that it's so sounds so trivial, doesn't it? No, it's not trivial.
No, no, no. It's part of how we have to grow. So, okay, thanks, Mary Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
And we are paying attention to a great deal of what's going on. So,
mm, okay. And V, do you want to, when you come out of this with Mary Chris, do you want to just quickly help our audience with what we talked about at the beginning of the show?
one of the greatest tools we have as human beings is to raise our fields and frequency, raise your fields and frequency so that you are conscious of being an energy being. You know the difference between feeling your emotions and so on and feeling being an energy being. And when you can raise your fields and frequency, and often it's through breathing, you can be moving, breathing, rapid panting, especially, it'll just make your skin buzz. It's when you have someone who's got an illness that you know is inherited, then you drop into your consciousness, into your body, and feel presence, that presence, a little bit more presence it in your mind and in your heart and in your consciousness. And when you do, you might feel that you're burping. You might feel a pressure in your different parts of your body that are not that way. But when you bring it up and feel it, just stay with it and stay with it. Again, it might make you burp, feel it and stay with it and stay with it. And if you can get the sense that you are in feeling with it, you can feel it. And like I say, you'll get reports like perhaps burping or whatever. Stay with it until it becomes less than, or until that little knot or nugget, or however you perceive it, becomes smaller or freer or more translucent or more transparent. You want some kind of dynamic change in its physical presence. If you can go in there and do that. So say that you have an eruption that came from an inherited thing. Maybe it's what would we call it, like an eczema or something like that. Let's pick something that is pretty common. And you keep doing it, you're going to see that that particular problem will start to heal with you. But also, when you go underneath it, keep asking for the source of it in your soul's journey, and you'll find yourself getting into an interesting, oh, it's just an interesting part of your physical, mental, emotional self, and you'll know where it is, and you'll bring it up and bring it up and feel it until it can disperse. There we go, until it can disperse. And as you do this exercise, you might be feeling interesting pains in different parts of your body. Go with those, know that they're related. And you just talk to them, you release them by feeling them. And again, keep your frequencies high, or this is very hard to work with. But there we go. And I don't know what you're doing, except for me, there was quite a release that came up. And you are not a programmed being. Well, we are to a degree, and you know that, but you're not fully programmed. And remind yourself, I can move this nugget of activity that's been running through my family for centuries and centuries. There we go. And just love yourself. When you can really love yourself, even if you're disliking that particular part of your inheritance, you can actually melt a number of these issues that come up. You can change your heritage. Might take more than one round. Anyway, thanks for doing this with me, and I'd love to get feedback on whether or not you have found your eczema or your migraines or whatever it is you want to work on shifting, shifting. Because the feelings in your body tell you where it's at. So thank you for listening, and much love to everyone. And thank you, MIRICRIS.
Mm. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Veronica.
you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I think it's a great question, Lori. We have to keep checking in on that one because it might take a little time, right?
Yes, we'll circle back around again to that because it's
We will.
powerful energy. Because without us feeling good, then that diminishes our ability to, um, I want to say it diminishes our ability to evolve a little bit.
Well, we want to be powerful.
Yeah,
It isn't necessarily powerful over, is it, Lori? It's like, I want to be powerful, not just victimized by my own memories or my own, we don't
right.
want to be victimized either. We want to be in charge.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
And I'd like to say one more thing with the craziness that's going on out there politically. Don't underestimate the value, and I know you know this, of centering and becoming strong. It has an impact on everyone around you. And
mhm,
if we're all doing that, we're not going to get um, bamboozled by an ignorant man who just knows how to do power.
mhm.
You understand? I know you do. Thanks for being here and look
All
after you.
right. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
If
Much
not
love.
before, never
Yeah,
know. See
that's right.
you later.